If you're anything like me, you've seen tons of content and still do surrounding Claude Code, agents, applications, and just the fancy stuff you can make with it. But rarely anybody talks about the real use cases that we are interested in, which is number one, making more money, and number two, getting your clients better results. And so what I want to do in this video is just give you a clear and honest breakdown of what a Claude Code built app looks like over time and how it's evolved to our different needs and the different use cases that we've had from June last year to now, what it looks like and what it's capable of in a seven-figure business. And if you don't know who I am, I'm Sam Sutton. I work with Tom Youngs inside of Scale 20, where we help online educators, coaches, and consultants hit their next 20K month milestone. Okay, so jumping into this first version of the app, this was back in June of 2025. And initially, we just wanted a way to visualize the data that we were collecting from our members every single month in a monthly totals form that we had initially on Airtable. This first version of the app had basic user authentication, and it didn't really have any real features because they would submit their data on an Airtable form, so it wasn't directly integrated into the platform. And we had an early version of the AI Scale Kit, which was basically just little cards that would link back to GPTs, which is obviously on ChatGPT. Now, the real interesting use case that we had for Tom and myself as like admins of the application was where we could see direct client intel, we called it, of the different confidence scores from the monthly totals that the members would submit. The confidence score is something that is included into different areas of the monthly totals form, where it covers stuff like sales and short form, and the members can grade themselves where they think of how well they're doing in that particular area. Now, this does open up the possibility where the members are going to grade themselves worse than they are actually doing. And in that case, we're just going to look at the metrics and see the real side of things. But usually, it's a good diagnosis and a very easy way to have an instant pulse check on how are they doing, where do they feel like they're going wrong, and typically it gives us a very good idea on who we should reach out to first, help them in the specific areas that they're struggling with before going to the ones that are doing well and, for example, congratulating them and giving them extra support. Now, this first version, it worked, but like I said, there was no real use case. The user authentication was kind of clunky. People had to ask us to change passwords and they forgot access, and it was just a bit of a mess. And there was no real features that the members would go to the app specifically apart from looking at their data. Now, a big change happened in December of last year and kind of January of this year, where we did a complete overhaul of the UI, and we also completely changed the tech stack to move over to Clerk for user authentication because we wanted better security and a better user flow in case they needed to change passwords, change emails, or whatever. And we also changed to Supabase for a backend database just because that has better security and it has better integrations with the other applications that we wanted to use. Now, directly in January, nothing major changed in the app. We added a calendar feature where the members could see past recordings and get access to the playbooks that we had and also see the upcoming sessions. But otherwise than that, nothing really changed except we did an improvement on the UI. But this new stack was the foundation, the base layer for every new feature we would use. Now, before I jump into the actual app and show you the latest version and different things we've got going, I just want to give you a bit of context into why we're investing so much time into this. And it's going onto the consumable side of things that we want the members to stick around as long as possible. One metric that I'm responsible for in Scale 20 is LTV. And this is my take on creating stickiness with our members so that in the event that they want to leave or the contract is coming to an end, they're going to think about it and they're not going to want to leave because we've got too many features that is just too useful for them. Because we've got stuff like content research for YouTube and Instagram and different agents there for them that can give advice and everything. But the point that most people miss is not these different features, is what is actually powering it. And keep in mind that we have a contract duration of 14 months. And so whenever an agent will make a recommendation, it's going to look at their progress, look at what worked, look at what didn't, and compare that with our IP and our data pool of hundreds of other clients that were in the same situation as them. And so the actual features and the competitor research, that's just like half of the picture. The other half is the data that we have. And if they decide to leave, this is something that they don't have access to anymore. Okay, so jumping into the actual application, one of the first things I'm going to show you is this training section where we have moved completely away from school. And we did this for a few different reasons. First of all, so that we have ownership and complete customization on everything relating to our training material, but also because we wanted to modify the sections of the actual content. And what we wanted to do is be able to provide an agentic, basically assistant, that can advise and give recommendations of the particular lesson that they are watching. Now, this is not something that every single member will want to use, but it's something that we weren't able to do before, obviously on school, as we're limited for that. And again, remember about the data. If the member is watching a lesson on building their email community, they can prompt the agent and say, look, I understand the concept, but I can't apply it to me. Look at my data and give me a proper recommendation. And we will look at their onboarding form, which gives us a full picture of all of their data, all of their offer, who they want to help, and we can look at the past metrics that they've submitted to us in the monthly totals. And with that, the agent can compare with what is being said in the lesson and give a proper recommendation because it's looked at our data pool and giving that specific member a specific recommendation that they can work with. Now, you're going to be sick of me after this video because I've said recommendation like 1,200 times, but this is the thing that we weren't able to do before: customization at scale. Now, another big feature that we've got is our implementation checklist directly in the app. This is something that we used to have on Google Sheets, and it worked, but we had no way of seeing our members' progress as they checked items off from this list. Now, if you're starting to see where I'm going with this, it's just constant data collection. We want as much awareness as we can possibly get on our members, on their progress, what they're stuck with, what they need to do, and how they can make progress. And having our implementation checklist in the app allows us to do that. Now, one last thing I'm going to show you is this YouTube competitor analysis page. The other things I'm not going to show you because that's gated behind our IP or client data, which I'm obviously not going to share. But this YouTube competitor page basically allows any of our clients request an analysis on their content compared to their competitors completely for free and as much as they want. They can get 1,000 reports in a day if they would want to. Don't ask me why they would do that, but they can. And what they simply do is they build up a list of their competitors. They can submit them here, and as much as they want, we can sync their content to find outliers. And once they've done this, they can bookmark the content to find what worked or what didn't in that particular post. If you've ever used a tool called Sandcastles AI, you will know that that's where we got inspiration from for this specific feature. But basically, when a member decides to analyze a piece of content, we will run it through our IP, and here is just looking at the content. To get a report on their content as well, they will go to the agent section, but here they can just get a dissection of the piece of content that they wanted to look at. And keep in mind, this also works for Instagram. On the agent side of things, this is where we're going to compare both sides of things and give specific recommendations and ideas that they can use for their market, for their industry, and also for their scale. Because keep in mind, if you're Alex Hormozi, for example, you can post a piece of content and it's going to perform well. But if you're somebody like me, you have to be strategic of what you're going to post because you have a very small channel. So we're keeping that in mind every time we make a recommendation for our members, their content, their competitors' content, and how they can work with that over time. Now, quickly running through this report, we give them a table of outliers and we go through the comments, and at the very end, we give them title ideas, which basically gives them video ideas on what they can do, what they can talk about, and why they would talk about it. And I can easily save any of these. For example, let's say I like these. I can add them to my ideas board and start working with them, script them directly here. And again, this is data for us, which we can compare with what worked for them in the past, give them an accurate diagnosis of, hey, this is how you should talk about it, but we're never going to do any scripting whatsoever for them. That's a skill that they need to develop. But what we're doing is we're empowering them to get that skill and make it even better. So hopefully that gives you a good idea to see how an app like ours evolved over time. I missed a lot of things because unfortunately I didn't have many screenshots of the previous versions. And also just keep in mind that now the tech is just so much better. Claude Code is ridiculously good. And so you can just roll out new features very, very quickly. I'm not going to say for you to like release one every single day because you need to be thoughtful about what you do, what you make, why you make it, and keep your clients in mind and their results in mind. And so every time you're going to make a feature, make a new page, whatever, an agent, for example, you just want to keep in mind, is this going to make my clients better results? Is it going to help them get better results? Or is it going to make their life easier? And if it doesn't do any of those things, just throw that page away, throw that feature away, and work on something else that actually will.